Shalom. Call Loyum, La Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom to you fellow laborers out there doing the work in truth and in sincerity, especially during these times. Shalom to the few Akwaf that believe as well. And a hearty shalom to you other laborers and believers that are scattered abroad, even if you are a speck of bird, that are among the heathen, and like the heathen, all right, to the household of faith, which is the elect. I want to say shalom to you. This is another episode of For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. And as you can see, it's history based on, the injustices that took place right here in Babylon, as far as with regard to, things that happened to, our people. And, it just more proof that this man really, Esau Edom, which is the so-called white man, is your enemy. And it shows the hatred that he has for you, especially you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and the American people, which don't believe that he's your enemy. But at every given moment, he showed you that he's exactly your enemy, So this is Obadiah verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame should cover thee, and thou should be cut off forever. And this is what's going on right now. And this is the reason why, the history books are being rewritten. They want to take out, the history of the heinous atrocities that they committed against our people. Throughout the time that, really they've been ruling over us. You always hear the saying of, that was a long time ago and things like that, because they don't have any pity for us. All right, and they don't supposed to have any pity for us because the Lord made us to be enemies of each other or rival nations. Okay, going back to, something I always bring up is the enmity between the righteous and the wicked. Okay, so, you look at what's going on right now. Right, all the receipts are going, public, basically, about what he's actually done to us, and still are doing to this very day. Because right now we're in the time of Jacob's trouble, and even now, he's showing you that, like it says in Sirach 12, that his rust had not been wiped away. Because why? It says like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And once you see, who this man is through a looking glass that you wipe clear, you should see that he is the wicked. All right, and this is why Habakkuk 2:16 said what? There should be a shameful spewing upon his glory. And we're living through that. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring up the article. It says a white mob terrorized black residents in East St. Louis, which they're Edomites, not white. Okay, white is a social construct that they came up with, but also words have meaning. All right, just like they called, Judah black, or any Israelite that's dark, they call them black. When you understand what white and black means, it's a total play on words. All right, white means innocent, not intending to harm, pure, right? Which, you look up the word black, it means evil, wicked, all right, void of light, And oftentimes you hear our people, claim to be black. And the part of the definition black I agree with is they are void of light. Like Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This is why, they're crying out right now, all right, about what's going on with the ICE and Homeland Security raids. Let's get into this article, though. It says on July 3rd, 1917, continuing violence raged in East St. Louis, Illinois, as Edomite mobs attacked black residents and destroyed their homes and other property. The primary outbreak of violence began on July 2nd, 1917, when white residents of East St. Louis and other nearby communities ambushed, they say African American, but we know that's not their nationality. That's not even a nationality, period. They're the tribe of Judah, or the so-called Negro here, or black or African American in America. They're really the tribe of Judah, or Yahawada in our own language. It says, ambushed so-called African American workers as they left factories during a shift change. The National Guard was called in to suppress the violence, but they were ordered not to shoot at so-called white rioters or the Edomite rioters. Some troops reportedly joined the mobs targeting the black community, which is the Judite community. And it goes to show you that, that's another time that, troops, this is one of the many incidents that the troops were used against, you Jakes, man. Actual troops joined the Edomite mobs and was targeting you Jakes, man. And and what do you think going on right now? They setting up, 500, U.S. troops, National Guard troops in each state. And like the smaller states, they get like 250, I believe, to come in like a flood to persecute you tribes. Okay, so Homeland Security and ICE is the beginning of it. When actual National Guardsmen come in and knock on your doors, they're going to show you no pity because you'll be put to death in that day, man. In 1916 and 1917, thousands of so-called African Americans moved from the rural South to East St. Louis in search of industrial work. White residents, along with the city's political leaders, attempted to discourage black migration and prohibited railroads from transporting black people to the region. When these attempts failed, white residents used violence to intimidate, expel, and destroy the so-called African American population. And this shows you right here that there's not a South-only thing as far as the violence that was, imposed on our people. This is the American thing, No matter where you went, all right, you were you were pursued by your enemies, all right, with violence. It says, from July 2nd to July 5th, 1917, at least 39, and some estimate as many as 200 Judites were shot, hanged, beaten to death, or burned alive after being driven into burning buildings. The riots caused more than 400,000 in property damage and prompted 6,000 Judites, more than half of East St. Louis Judite population, to flee the city. While 105 people were indicted on charges related to the riot, only 20 members of the Edomite mob received prison sentences for their roles in perpetrating the extreme violence and killings. So, yeah, man, many of them, and it's saying they, arrested 20 of them, but who knows? That's a publicity stunt in my eyes, because These devils never brought to justice, man. Okay? They're never brought to justice, man. All right? So let's grab a few precepts. Amos 1:11. Excuse me. Amos 1:11, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." Right? This is a clear example. Okay? This is a clear example of how he cast off all pity. Excuse me, and he pursued Jake's with his sword, which is a blessing. Okay? See, some of you Jakes be in denial, but when you be honest with yourself, which, that's seemed to be remain, how you Jakes, view Esau. If you're not in your right mind, you'll think this man, is going to treat you fairly, but that's not the case, man. But point is, he has no pity, he has no compassion for you, right? The word pity from online etymology, it says compassion, kindness, generosity of spirit. Oh, he's the opposite, man. All right, disposition to mercy, quality of being merciful. No, he don't have that. Well, matter of fact, it says generosity of spirit, right? Check this out. This is Habakkuk 2:4. It says, "Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him." All right. So there you go, man. There you go. The soul, which is lifted up, is not upright up in him. Now the word upright, we can look that up too. Upright, the Hebrew word is yashar. To be right, be straight, level, upright, be just, be lawful, right? Be smooth, be to go straight, to be pleased, be agreeable, Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Strong's definition. It says to be right, pleasant, prosperous, direct, fit, seem good, or meet, please. So basically, that's the gist of it, man. Excuse me. That's the gist of it, man. He's not upright. He's not he's not a just person, man. Because 20, according to the article, at least 20 people was brought to justice, so to speak. And I don't like to use that word, justice, because we don't have no justice in America. And then the whole world knows that, But anyways, his soul is not upright, man. See? And also, it mentioned being merciful, right? The so-called white man is not merciful. When you look at, Jake that go to court, you could do the same crime as an Edomite, all right? And Esau will bop you on the head, if it's like stealing, he'll give you a year or 2. But Edomite, if he get probation, I'll be surprised. 3 months probation. But you steal something, as far as, you're not supposed to steal. All right, of course, but the way he would treat the Edomite is totally different than how he would treat one of our people. That's the point. He'll throw the book at you for some petty offense. And then, like I say, he's unmerciful. This is why when he's judged, he's not going to have any mercy shown to him. We can get that too. The book of James, chapter 2 and verse 13. And it reads, "For he shall have judgment without mercy that had showed no mercy." And when you look at the things Esau have done to our people, there's no mercy at all, man. Even during this time when they destroyed, because 1917, the early 1900s, is when they destroyed what's known as Black Wall Street, all the prominent so-called black neighborhoods and communities that were destroyed, man, that Jake built for themselves after slavery. They were all destroyed. You know? So you Jake's looking at how you going to build generational wealth. Well, he ain't going to let you have no generational wealth because, Esau going to make sure that the curse is on your ass. And one of the curses that we will not prosper, all right, in our ways. You know? But he's going to have his judgment without mercy. You know, even the Zon and Compact Bible Dictionary, the scholars that put it together, you read the definition of Edom, it said it was the only nation that wasn't promised any mercy from the Most High. And when you go into the history of what Esau have done to Jacob, all right, or us as a nation, as a whole, all right, the whole nation of Israel, which are the so-called blacks, the so-called Hispanics, the so-called Native American people, you know, it's man, it's a lot to process. I'll say it that way. You know, try to wrap your mind around all the things that happen because there's so many things among all the tribes. You know, you'll be here for years talking about it. You know, so he's gonna have his mercy. He's gonna have his judgment without mercy. I mean, okay, and that's why the Lord gonna really put His fury on us to show Esau no mercy. Okay, because you look at it, the scriptures say what? That love worketh no ill to his neighbor, because now we know this truth. You know, now we know this truth. You know, as a people, the Lord has awakened us up. You know, He don't like it because we're able to see exactly what's been done as far as things that were done in our past lives. You know, in our ancestors' past lives. You know, Romans 13 and 10, it says, "Love working no ill to his neighbor." Right? So love working no ill to his neighbor. And that's self-explanatory, man. What's ill? Wrongdoing. Right? Wrongdoing or evil doing. If you love someone, you want wish any ill or trying to impose any ill things upon them. But again, you know, we're not neighbors. So your neighbor is your fellow Israelite. Do you have neighbors as far as other people? Yeah, neighboring countries. But as far as your within your people, your neighbor is your fellow Israelite, the fellow person of your own race or nation. And America is not no one big goddamn nation. Okay, this is a country. This is being American is a citizenship status. You know. So, you know, we're not all one people. That's why there's never been no unity between them and us. But anyways, let's continue. This is the book of Proverbs 22 and 22, and it reads, "Rob not the poor, because he is poor," right? And during these times, Jake was poor, but Jake had built up wealth for themselves. And again, like I said a moment ago, you know, the curses is that we will not prosper in our ways. But the Lord gave us a moment, or in particular Judah, a moment, to have a little ease in this captivity. And it was quickly taken away via Esau coming in with his troops during this time, as you read from the article, or you seen in the article. Okay, you had the National Guard troops come in, and they joined the Edomite mobs to help kill you, Jakes, man. Rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate, right? And we already going through our affliction, being under your rule, as a punishment for us being disobedient to the Heavenly Father. But it says in Zechariah, the first chapter in the 15th verse, that you help forward the affliction of our people. Way far beyond the Most High's intentions. That's why the Most High is going to pay you for everything you've done. Excuse me. It says, for the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the soul of those that spoiled them, right? And ultimately, this is what's getting ready to happen. All right, Jeremiah 30:16 come to mind. Right, the Lord going to give you for praying upon us, because that's the end goal. All right, those that oppress us, we're gonna oppress them in the kingdom. Isaiah 14 comes to mind. Matter of fact, I'll read it. It says Isaiah 14:1. For yet it says, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, which are the Israelite foreigners, the Israelites that were scattered abroad. The Lord is going to bring back, to the land. Verse 2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, which is the Israelites. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors, man. All right, and our oppressor today is a self-proclaimed white man, which is true nationality, is that he's Esau Edom. So we're gonna rule over them. All right, we're gonna rule over our oppressors. And they have to serve us. All right, and by building up our kingdom. All right, being our slaves, man. And this is what they're so afraid of. But you cannot change what's written. See? So, without a shadow of a doubt, that you guys are going to go right into captivity. All right, Revelation 13:10. All right, that's on deck. Soon the destruction is over. The next life for you Edomites is slavery, and the rest of you heathen. But you Edomites, man, are going to be the #1 slave in the kingdom. And this is why you're nervous. This is why you're scared. Because the Lord is going to avenge us. All right, the Lord's going to avenge us, man. See, you don't have to try to avenge yourselves. All you Israelites out there, the Lord's going to avenge us, man. Wait and watch and see, man. All you got to do is believe, man. The Lord going to make sure in his promises. You just got to believe and hold on. So with that, I'm going to end it right there. Lord willing, this video was edifying. I didn't want to make it too long. But with that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash, Shalom.